I am so sick of you guys saying that you don't know anything about classical music. I'm here to set the record straight because I'm sick of it. So I figured it's best to talk about the most memorable melodies in orchestra that you've ever heard. You've heard these melodies before but just don't know the name because this happens every single time. Here's how it goes with my friends. Hey, we're playing this really cool piece in my orchestra. We're going to be playing Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. I don't know why you say these things like I know them. You know this song. I mean, you definitely know this song. No, I don't. Oh, I know that song. I know that song. Right. This happens every single time, and I'm sick of people saying they don't know anything about classical music because I'm gonna tell you, you know more than you think you do. I'm only gonna talk about a few because I really could make this a whole part series if I wanted to. We're just gonna pick from a whole bunch of countries and just see how we go from there. If you guys like this, let me know and I'll do more. Maybe we can do like TikTok sounds that are from, I've really thought about this concept because people swear that they don't know anything about it. We'll start in the Americas. Depending on your generation, you've probably had an ice cream truck that has played The Entertainer by Scott Joplin. What better way to start off with a Black composer in Black History Month, obviously. Very famous example of ragtime music in that ragtime era. I love ragtime. Something about it. It's just so much fun to play. The thing about old, pure Americana classical music is very militant. And I mean militant. There's marches out the wazoo. So I have to add the John Philip Sousa, the March King. John Philip Sousa has composed 200 marches? 200. Known for Stars and Stripes Forever, in high school I had to at least play at least one Sousa march every year. I love a good march. That's because trombones play the entirety of the piece. We don't have to rest for 80 measures. Plus, trombones will get the melody. How often do you hear trombones getting any melody in any orchestral assignment? Yeah. It'll be a point where first trombone has been playing the entire time and the bass trombone player has only played one measure. We'll move up to Canada. Canada. I'm trying to think of a Canadian composer. Julius Fusick. Let me know. I don't want to butcher anyone's names. If you've ever seen a depiction of any traditional circus, it's usually accompanied by thunder and blazes. The very well known melody used for circuses and clowns and everything under the sun with a big top. We actually played that in marching band for Memorial Day parade, but it wasn't that part. It was much later in Thunder and Blazes. Another song that people usually use for balancing, if you've ever seen Lion King 1.5, the scene where Timon and Pumbaa, they are distracting the hyenas and Timon's juggling sticks with plates on top, Saber Dance is playing. We're actually playing that in our orchestra piece. One of the trombones is playing the dun, dun. It's fun. It's really fun. It's another thing about being in low brass is that you can feel and hear the pulse much better in the percussion than you can all the way in the front with the strings and the winds, the upper winds. Tiffany's just going like this the whole time. It's fun. Rule of thumb is usually to listen back to the percussion when you feel like you're dragging or you're rushing, or pay attention to the conductor. I will say there are cues that are very apparent for the conductor to do, but there are times where some of us start to fall off a little bit, where everybody is staying in time over here, but some people are dragging back here, and some people it gets to a point where, oh shit, somebody's rushing back here. So now we don't know who to listen to, and the conductor just kind of makes a little note of it, makes it emphasize a little. It's hard to tell from an audience standpoint because we will have cues in our piece where we'll have a ritardando to tempo, a tempo, where the conductor is that's written in the piece to slow this down and then bring it back up. But that usually gets avoided, and that usually gets noted a lot in practice. We'll write down pay attention or look up or something like that. The jargon for music, especially how to play things, like if we're playing it in legato, mezzo forte, forzando, a lot of this is in Italian, which is why I'm learning Italian. It's very important to take note of the dynamics and the notes that have been written by the conductor or the composer, because that's what makes the piece colorful. The first few years of learning your instrument, you're solely just getting your muscle memory together with how to use this instrument, right? It's also even a thing to, if you're learning music theory while learning an instrument, like you're reading, you're learning how to internalize 4/4 time and learning key signatures and time signatures and how long each note value is. Learning that alongside a new instrument can be tricky. So dynamics really isn't on the forefront of a lot of people's minds, which is why people start to drill that in come middle school, high school. Because the first couple of years in elementary school, you're not really worried about decrescendos. Yes, you learn about them, but they're not important. Trying to get you to play the note before you worry about hitting a decrescendo and then crescendo. You know what I mean? It's interesting because my youngest nephew, he likes playing with the instruments that I have around in my room. I have a piano over here. I have a ukulele. I got him a kazoo that was like $1. I have a harmonica. I have a recorder, and he plays with these instruments, and I just watch him. I realize why there's a specific age limit on learning an instrument. Now, of course, we can put aside the prodigies and stuff like that. That's a different conversation. But for kids, they're really starting everything new. Everything is so new to them. And for context, my youngest nephew is 6 years old, and his motor skills are 6 years old. His brain is 6 years old. He hasn't even really fully been able to read a book fully in confidence yet. You know what I mean? We're still starting to learn how to read. We're starting learning our colors. We're learning all these things. Well, they know colors by 6. I'm just saying. A couple years ago, they were just learning how to walk. So it's just like some of these things are just too advanced for children, because granted, it looks fun that they're playing these little toys that are musical instruments, but reading music, knowing how long a note is, looking at a measure, reading a key signature, knowing what key we're in, what's their minor, what's their major. It's like, it's way too much for a 6-year-old. Because when I think about that, when I was much younger, I was like, why didn't I become a musician much younger? Music is its own thing. It's an own sector. This is math. This is memory. This is all of this stuff that you have to understand. Everything's going at the same time. I'm using my air supply while I'm playing an instrument, while I'm memorizing the slide positions, while I'm reading this note, while I'm listening to everybody else, while I'm watching the conductor. There's so much happening at the exact same time. So it makes sense that little kids don't play music instruments right now, or they don't really take it seriously. They start off with like those sticks, like those do-re-mi sticks. I don't know what they're called, but I'll have to look them up. Try and put the name up somewhere. Now we're gonna move all the way to Russia and Germany. Now the Russians and Germans, the Germans specifically, they make a mean ballet. And the Russians are coming right up after making songs for it. Peter? It's spelled with a P-Y-O. So I don't think it's a way that we're saying it like Peter. Peter? I don't know. I'm not sure. Tchaikovsky wrote the score for The Nutcracker and Swan Lake. Swan Lake is known for its theme, the swan theme. Everyone has used that for TikTok songs as well. And people have also used Dance of the Nights, which is in the Romeo and Juliet ballet that was also written by Tchaikovsky. Or was it Stravinsky? One of the skis. Right, Tchaikovsky wrote the overture for Romeo and Juliet. Sergei Prokofiev wrote Dance of the Nights. And I think Dance of the Nights was in the Romeo and Juliet ballet. That's because they're two different things, I believe. Dance of the Nights people have used that song for like female rage. They've also used the Swan Lake for female rage as well on TikTok, but I'm just giving these melodies again their name and their composers so you can impress your musician friends. I think Nutcracker has also had a lot of heavy bangers. Waltz of the Flowers. And here's the thing, because you guys will swear that you guys don't know anything about classical music, but you guys know a waltz when you hear it. This is Waltz of the Flowers. It's a very easygoing traditional waltz. And most times when we're playing a waltz, because we're playing a lot of waltz for this season's concert in my orchestra, the conductor usually conducts a 3/4 time waltz in one. So this is 1 2 3 2 2 3 3 4. It's fun that you guys say that you guys don't know anything about it, but I think you guys just really don't know the names. You guys are aware of these because media has constantly thrown these melodies and rhythms in your face. You guys just don't really know the jargon for it. And that's okay. And a lot of older movies had a scene where a lot of people were coming in swarms and just coming in the thousands. People either use Flight of the Bumblebee or Ride of the Valkyries. Flight of the Bumblebee is a very, very fast song. Korsakov. Sounds Russian. I didn't know who wrote Flight of the Bumblebee, but I saw the last name and I was like, okay, we've got some Russian influence over here. Ride of the Valkyries is written by Richard Wagner, also known as the #1 audition piece for most trombone players. I explained this in videos a long time ago about the music being played while Panya was literally running on top of her sisters. Matches the same cadence of Ride of the Valkyries that Wagner has written. Classical music is always transcendent and influences everybody, and you just have to find them. Sorry, I don't know a lot of Polish composers. But if I feel like if I did look some up, maybe I would know him, but Chopin is one of the most well-known Polish composers of that time. Early on, a lot of classical music pieces and their titles didn't have titles like Ride of the Valkyries or Flight of the Bumblebee or anything like that. They would say something under the lines of OP number 3 or something like that. OP is short for opus. And people will say something like, this is my magnum opus, which is great work for Latin. So this will be their work number 2 in whatever key that they put in the song. Frederick Chopin is known for his funeral march as well, that we've seen in a lot of death scenes. Like early cartoon, you've heard this melody before.
Oh gosh, I gotta save Timothy's neck.
Usually it's sped up, but it's originally slowed down. A lot of influences for villains we know now or anti-heroes we know now have been used for their themes influenced by the Chopin Funeral March. One of them is Darth Vader. I foreshadowed myself because I found it very similar that the same cadence of Darth Vader's theme matched the Robert Pattinson's Batman's theme, and I was like, this is interesting. Come to find out that the influence from those two themes are from the Frederick Chopin Funeral March. We're going to move all the way over to France for our French composer, Georges Bizet. He wrote an opera called Carmen. There's an irony behind that because the story Carmen follows tales of Spain and like scandalous tales of Spain, written by a French composer. There's also been a ballet as well, I think. If you guys have ever played Five Nights at Freddy's, you will have known the Toreador March. The story follows a soldier who is desperately looking for love and has found himself seduced by Carmen. A lot of operas have also been written in Italian, so that's another reason why I love to learn it, thanks to Pagliacci. I'm gonna say one more. Mozart. If you guys have seen a villain or you feel like you're gaining your villain, you're about to start your villain origin story or something like that, or something is quite off and people have used this melody a lot when something is wrong, they always use Lacrimosa. It's hilarious that the usage of keys and rhythms denote how we feel, and I talked about that in my music as a language video. It's hilarious that we have that same humor that finds itself in music, because music tells a story in of itself. You don't really need a plot. Like, you can feel what's going on just by listening to it, and it's amazing how music really does that and has done that and stands test of time. That's all that I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this shorter term video, because some of these, I just really want this to get drilled into your heads. You know more than you think you do. Let me know in the comments any other songs that you know but you don't really know the title of, and we can talk about that and its origin and where it comes from. Have fun. Be safe. Love you. Bye. So, story time, right? I watched Mufasa twice, and much later when movies have been out for a bit, they start rolling the official videos for songs. So when they started rolling stuff out from Mufasa, I was checking their channel so that I can see Milele thousands of times if I wanted to, because I love that song with everything in my body. They had dropped I've Always Wanted a Brother. They dropped Tell Me It's You, We Go Together. And I was like, okay, any day now Milele's gonna show up. And weeks started passing, and I was like, oh no. They started going on to Moana 2 stuff, and I was like, no, you're kidding. You're not gonna put this online. I was getting bummed out. And I was like, you're gonna deprive us of this cinematic masterpiece right here? They just uploaded it 19 hours ago. You have to understand that this song specifically, is such a beautiful piece. You got Nikanani Rose, who voices Mufasa's mother and has also voiced Princess Tiana. Keith David, who has also voiced Dr. Vasilia in Princess and the Frog. Nice little casting thing that they did there. Another thing Lin-Manuel Miranda's gonna do is overlap some melodies. You got Lebo M, who's the first voice you hear in Lion King, and the same first voice you hear in Mufasa, and his choir in the background. I love this song so much. Lin-Manuel Miranda said this song soars and swells, and he couldn't have described it any better. I'm gonna watch this every night before I go to sleep.